So, candles. This is probably helpful for celebrants actually, as well as couples. It also could be useful for funerals. Actually, anything. Anything. But I'm going to talk about candles. So, candles symbolise a whole lot of things. They tend to symbolise light and warmth because that's what they give you. Even if they don't symbolise anything, the fact is they give you light and heat, light and warmth. So incorporating those into your ceremony, any which way, will just by osmosis create a feeling of light and warmth. So that's always nice. Now, the way that I've been using them lately in weddings is for those that are no longer with us, that would have been, should have been at the weddings. I've done a few ceremonies lately and continue to do so that are the weddings, which is lovely, but there's been a lot of loss. So, I mean, I think one bride and groom between them in the last 18 months had lost 11 people or something. Like it was nuts. And there's a couple of ways of doing it. I mean, there's loads. I tend to do them in a couple of ways. So if as a couple you're quite private and you want to mark the occasion of someone not being with you, but don't really want to make a thing of it, but don't want to not mention it, I do it this way. But then if you do actually want to mention it properly without it not being too subtle, but is a definite nod, I can do it that way. So I'll show you this and that. And then you can use it not to symbolise loss, but to symbolise growth, which is another thing. So I'll start off with this and that. So this is for possibly the private couple or the really shy couple that are kind of uncomfortable having a wedding anyway, and the thought of standing in front of everyone is uncomfortable. And the thought of standing in front of anyone in a dress, speaking and declaring their love, they're just like, but they like the idea of it and they want to do it. But the thought of doing it is like, can we not? Can we get married without actually having a wedding? I mean, yes, you can. You can just go and get married without having a wedding, or you can elope. I don't tend to do those couples. I tend to do the couples that actually want to mark it. It doesn't need to be jazz hands or singing and dancing and out there, but they want it to be strong. They want to have commitment behind it, and they want to feel completely aligned with why they're doing it. They don't want it just to be a thing. They don't want it to be lip service. It has to really be how they're feeling. So one way I've been doing it, when they've been a bit more, I suppose, tender about it, because it's so raw, I guess, is that before the bride or the groom, whoever's walking up the aisle, makes their entrance, the groom, let's say, for example, I'm doing a bride and groom, and we're going sort of fairly traditional, as in the groom is with me up the top and the bride isn't here yet. Before I do my house notices, which are things like, remember to turn your mobile phone off and welcome, and toilets are over here, they're here and here, I would maybe give the groom a nod and say, okay. And he would just kind of quietly go up to the candle that's up in our ceremony space and light it, and, maybe say a prayer in his head, maybe just spend a moment thinking, maybe just breathe, and actually go, I'm lighting this candle for my mum or my would-have-been godmother or my best friend or granddad, like whatever it is, whoever it is that they're missing, that they light a candle for them. And, maybe they want to invite them in and kind of say in their heads, just, I don't know if you're with us in spirit, but I hope you are. And if you are with us in spirit and you're thinking about coming, we welcome you. Like whatever it is that is in their heart or in their wishful thinking or in their wonderings, it just gives them an opportunity to mark that person's absence and feel their presence in the way that they feel able to, without it being a spectacle. So I give the groom a nod. He would light the candle. Then I'd start my house notices. And I might then say, a moment ago, James lit a candle for those that are not with us in person or online, but welcome to those of you in person, welcome to those of you online. But he lit it for those that we hope are with us in spirit, so that we know we're thinking of you and you know that you're still in our hearts, or something. Like a little sentence that is a proper acknowledgement. And then I would say, please welcome the bride. And I've done it that way because the bride is like, I am going to cry too much. I want to do it, but I'm unable to do it. And I was like, that's fine. It can be done. And this is how we would do it, which means it is done, but it means you don't have to stand there feeling an absolute mess. And so we've done it that way. The groom's lit the candle before I've done my house notices. And then I do my house notices and say what we've done and why we've done it. And then I say, please stand, and we welcome the bride and groom. Or we welcome the bridal party. So that's one way of doing it. It's helpful for celebrants, I guess, as well as couples out there. The other way I've done it is to have done that, but waited for the bride to come up with her father and maybe said, on behalf of the family, the bride is now going to light a candle for her side of the family that are no longer with us, because he's lit his, and then she wants to light hers, and there's two candles together. And each candle represents one side of the family for each. I've done that before because both sides had experienced loss, and there were both people missing from both sides, so we did that. And she felt she was able to do it herself when she got up the aisle, so that was lovely. We all take a deep breath. And everyone was also kind of like, okay, good, I'm glad that was mentioned, because I know from weddings that I've been to, when it's not mentioned, you sit there thinking, surely someone's going to mention it. And no one does. And then it actually feels really awkward. And by the time you get to the speeches, which is like 5 hours into the day, you've almost forgotten. And then someone says, and of course we miss so-and-so. And you're like, oh my God, yeah. Why wasn't that done 5 hours ago? That's what? So my couples are just, I guess, a bit more ceremonial, which makes sense because they want to make something of the ceremony. So hooray for my couples that do understand that making a ceremony of something, making something a thing, giving something a rite of passage and marking it properly has value and is important and will help people either enjoy it more or mark their grief. Whatever is your motivation to do it, it will help people. So there's that way. The other way is we do the full on. I do the full welcome, and then I say to the couple, by all means, light a candle for those that are with us in spirit, and invite them to join us if you wish to do so. And they do that, and that's lovely. I've also done that at funerals when there's been, because grief is accumulative, and you've had people in the room, people that are not in the room that should be in the room. So, for example, when I'm doing a funeral of the widow or the widower that's left behind actually has dementia and is completely unaware that they've lost their spouse or their daughter, and it's and everyone around is going, look, mum's not coming because she doesn't even know that dad's died. But we still light a candle and say, the Liz that once was is still with him, and however we want to phrase it, however the family are happy to phrase it, then we know that they're still with us on planet Earth. They're still walking the earth, but they're just not aware they're with us anymore. So we kind of marked that at funerals, because some people want to leave an empty chair, and that sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. It tends to work at funerals, so you leave a place for that person that's still here, but just isn't here. But at weddings, if you leave a place for a person that's still here but isn't here, it just looks like they haven't turned up, and then that looks rude. So it's just working out. It's dealing. You just deal. There's so much out there. There's so much love. There's so much grief. There's so much evidence of love. There's so much joy of hope. So much. But using candles is a way of doing that. So it's lighting a candle for the spirit that was in the body that still is, or both have gone and both have passed on, but they want to be marked and they're welcome to come back and join in spirit. So I might light a candle for that. So that's managing kind of grief and absence in ceremonies. We light a candle before or during. The way I can use a candle in a wedding might be in a union. What do I call it? A candle, a unity candle. Oh God, my mind went blank. If you've been following my stories, you'll know why. A unity candle. And there's two ways of doing it. There's two things that these stand for. So originally, a unity candle was a way of getting the mothers involved, because up until 5 weeks ago, the mothers weren't anything. Do you mean they weren't on the wedding certificate? They weren't. You got your maiden name was gone. There was anyway, old English law. And so the candle ceremony, the candle unity ceremony, was originally the mothers of the groom, the mother of the bride, bringing their light as mothers to the child that they created, and all the goodness that they passed on, and the nourishment and the next of kin and all the stuff that mums are. They bring their candle and their light, and the tradition was that they would get walked in with the best man or whoever carrying their candle, and they would come and place it at the top. And then when he'd done the vows, when the couple had done the vows and done the rings, the mothers would then come up, and because the father got to give them away and do the blessing on behalf of the family, again, the mothers didn't get involved. So it was a way of getting the two mothers to use their candles each to join in unity. It was about two families coming together and lighting the unity candle. That's got lost a lot. It's now tends to be, which I completely understand, it now tends to be, I don't understand why it's got lost. I understand what it now stands for in this other way, which is this way I'm now saying, is that you're, as a couple, two individual people, you have your own flame, you have your own light, you bring your own warmth, you are your own fire. You are your own person, you don't need the other person. And you bring who you are to the party, and they bring who they are to the party. But then we ceremoniously light the unity candle, and they are bigger, brighter, stronger, warmer, hotter together than they might be individually. And so you would get like two taper candles and then one big fat candle. And therefore it would last longer, burn brighter, blah, 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 stronger together, teamwork, unity, all that jazz, which I love. I've just written a unity ceremony for a couple that are using it as themselves. The twist I put on this one is they aren't very good. Well, one of them is, one of them isn't very good at saying, I bring the light, I'm amazing, I'm fine without you, but actually together we're bigger and stronger. So they're doing it, instead of rings, they're exchanging candles, and they're saying, I see and feel your light by the way that you love me. I see and feel your light by the strength that you have when I need you. I see and feel your light by, I wrote 8 things. And I was writing, oh my God, this is so romantic. Without it being cheesy. So that's really nice. I hope they like it. Literally just pressed send about an hour ago, so fingers crossed. This is the bit I get nervous at. Totally don't get nervous in the wedding. It's when I press send on the script. I'm like, I hope you like it. I like it. I'd have that at my wedding. And if I didn't like it, I wouldn't send it. I would keep working on it until I liked it. So I'm really proud of that. Hopefully they like it. Fingers crossed. So they're lighting each other's candle and saying, I see you for this, and I see and feel you for this. And they light their candles. I still really like the original with the two mothers bringing their light into the room and down the aisle. And then when we've done all this, they then say, yeah, we're totally behind this. We totally back this union. And here's me giving your light. And, you know, good luck. I hope you are bigger and stronger and wiser. The other way, where am I? So I've done this, that, and the other. Yes, the other way I've done it is in a naming ceremony. So there's two, I've done it a couple of ways. Of course I have, I've always done something more than one way. At naming ceremonies, when there is sort of dual heritage or mixed culture or two sets of belief systems, but essentially if you've got dual heritage and that child has two sets of culture, two sets of belief systems, but actually, you know, one family, there are going to be all these influences that come in. So we've done one, I'm a party of one here, guys. I've done one where the mother was, let me get this right, the mother was Italian Catholic and the father was Turkish Muslim. So I was saying, well, the religious symbolism is the oil and the light, and that means this, that, and the other. But in Turkey, you can bring the olive oil from home and it will have that much meaning. You can do the anointing, which will have this much meaning. And the parents would say to me what it means to them. And then I would incorporate into the script and work out what the symbolism means to them. So the guiding adults put some Turkish olive oil on their hand and anointed the child with whatever symbol they wanted to. So it might have been a kiss, it might have been a cross, it might have been a heart, it might have just been a dot, whatever the symbol they felt aligned to, whatever they wanted to, really. And I didn't look, wasn't any of my business. I was like, that's you and your private thing. So they, you know, they put the oil in the hand. Another way I've used it is actually it's another Turkish influence. The dad was Turkish, and we put oil on the parents' hand, and they all passed the oil round. It's obviously pre-COVID, that one, because it was about the naked truth, and you know, palm to palm, you know, we will honestly, you know, whatever trouble you get in and you want to slip and slide and try and get out of it and whatever, we will love you come what may. And so that they went round the circle with that one. So that was the oil. With the candle, because of the influence they had with religion, they were like, actually to us it does mean faith, hope and light, and that does have a spiritual level for us. You're like, absolutely fine. Why don't you go to church and ask the vicar to bless the candle? And they were like, can we do that? I was like, well, yes, you can. The vicar doesn't have to do it. You can just ask nicely. Or the rabbi or the priest or wherever or go to the temple. Whatever is important to you, try and make that happen. So they had, and the Italian Catholic mother had gone to church and had said, I know we're not having our son christened, baptized, but it's really important to me that we have some kind of influence. What might you be able to help us with? And the priest was like, oh, I'll bless the candle and I'll give you some holy water in a pot. And we're like, lovely. So we incorporated that. Now the reason I can do that, I'm not blessing in the name of, because I'm not ordained, so I can't, it's not my place to do that. I'm not ordained. I'm not channeling the Holy Spirit, so to speak. But I'm also not a humanist. Because if you're a humanist, you're just like, no, that's just a man in a dress saying it's now holy water, and it's not. So, Pops 19, you love that. Oh, which bit? The water, or nipping to the church, or the hands? I realise I've got through quite a lot in 16 minutes. What was the last bit I said when you said love that? I think nipping to the church and asking the vicar to contribute in some way. Which was really nice. And I did it at a 40th renewal of vows. The candle being blessed. Yeah, it's nice, isn't it? I was so chuffed. He didn't say no. So that was nice. So they've got a sort of christening candle, even though they didn't get christened. but they know that the candle has more than just me, which is nice. I'm just going to have a silly coffee, excuse me. So that's that. I did go somewhere else and I forgot just then. Can't remember. Oh, 40th, renewal of vows. So the way we got the candle in there, but with a bit of culture, is that the person of the religious, whether it was the vicar or the priest or their local curate, whatever it was, they asked them to write a prayer and said, we're having a garden party. Oh, bless, don't worry. Interrupted life is just what life's about. I like to know that you're here. I love that we're connecting. Thank you so much. Please don't ever apologise for contributing. I love it. Contribution is really important. So keep going, keep going. So the vicar wrote a prayer. And they said, we'd love to have that at our renewal of vows. We're not going to do it in church. We got married in church and we did the whole shindig and we're very churchy, but we actually just want a garden party. But we want to mark it. So the vicar wrote a prayer and I read it out and I said, whilst we're doing the celebration, said, 40 years ago, they stood in the church in the eyes of God and said this, that, and the other. But 40 years on, we're now in the garden with all our friends and family, having a drink, misbehaving a little bit. Not in COVID, this is pre-COVID as well. I don't mean misbehaving as in we're having a garden party, I meant misbehaving as in we're all having a drink. And the vicar's written this prayer for this couple. If you want to contribute, just say amen at the end. And so I read the prayer and most people said amen and everyone was all smiling. It was all really nice. And then they said, for those of you that, what did I say? Those that didn't want to, but wanted to pass on their blessings and good wishes, please come and light a candle. So we just had a little tea candles around. So we brought the candle in, but a bit like a prayer. When you go into churches, you see all these little candles everywhere. But we did it in a kind of pretty design kind of way. So it was all these little candles of people that had just said positive thoughts and positive vibes, but they weren't comfy saying a prayer. So we used the symbolism that the church had put on the candle, with it being the light of the spirituality enlightenment. But the people that didn't feel that had said, well, I still want to bring light and warmth to you in a factual way. I've lit a candle, it has given you light and warmth, but I do want to send you some positive vibes too. So it's just, for me, it's about being accessible. It's about making space for love. It's about bearing witness to love, whether it is bump, burial, and everything in between. But candles, I find, are a really lovely way of doing that because they do carry so much symbolism anyway. I mean, my dissertation was on semiotics and symbolism and what was it? I won't go into my dissertation, the semiotics of five fingers and a thumb. Basically, how context is the only thing that can dictate symbols. And if you take the context away, the symbol doesn't mean anything else. And what is reality? Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, my mind went there in my dissertation. But so I just think ceremony and, oh, hi, Hayley. Ceremony and symbolism and culture and marking it and having a rite of passage is available to you, even if you didn't think it was. Because celebrants, and me particularly, will make space for that. And I've got loads of background in cultural and interfaith and theological studies. My dissertation was on symbolism. And I was like, what, 20, 19, 18, 17, 18, 19, 20, 20. So yeah, it's just, I think it's really important. I think it's something that stays with you. I think also with the candle, yes, you can blow it out, but you make time and are mindful when you light it again. And when you light it again, you remember why you did it in the first place. And it will invoke those feelings with you again. I did I think it's in my blog on Sunday, about people won't remember what I've said. I'm going to go, this symbolises blah, 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 blah. And at the time they're like, oh yeah, lovely. Oh, that's nice. Oh, how lovely, how romantic. But if I'd said something even 5 minutes later, can you remember exactly what I said? They'd be like, oh no, but it was really nice. Because they remember how it made them feel. And so lighting that candle and doing that behaviour embodies it. And so when you've done a lovely naming ceremony that's had a candle, we then get to the first birthday and we put candles on the cake because it symbolises you feeling safe, warm and happy. It's celebratory. And then we do it every year. So candles are really symbolic, but you can add on to it what you want, and it can create and invoke a memory of where you were at the time. And we can create it in a ceremony to mean something that you want it to mean. So I just think they're really powerful. So it was me doing a little, oh, hi Ginger Snaps, seeing you at a wedding soon, da da da. And it can just add. It can add to it, and it's a keepsake, which is what I really, really like about it. And even when it does melt, you can gather it all up and make it into something else. So I just think using candles in ceremonies is all a little bit magical and quite everlasting and is existential. Right, too much coffee. It's fine. I've got 4 hours to go, so I'm finishing work. So, ta-da! Anyway, lots of love. Please reach out if you think I can help you. If you're a celebrant, you want to pick my brains, pick my brains. If you're thinking about proposing and you're like, how can I do that? You could always line a path with candles. And then they'll always think happy thoughts about that. Anyway, I'm here for you. Reach out. I will make space for what it is that you feel you need space for. And I will create a ceremony for you in a warm, light, safe environment like a candle. Take care. Bye.